Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Mystery and horror this hour, an episode of Lights Out, Arch Obler's creation from December 1st, 1942. This is the story of Mr. Maggs.
Ionized Yeast presents Lights Out. Everybody.
It is later than you think.
Lights Out brings you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you calmly but sincerely to turn off your radio now.
My name, Arch Obler. Tonight, another in our series of tales of the weird and the unusual. The idea for today's play, the story of Mr. Maggs, came to me a few years ago when I was in England, pre-war England. Calm, peaceful, serene, no enemy bombers overhead, no screaming sirens, and England happily without worry.
And now, Lights Out. Everybody.
All right, gentlemen. Now, here's an opportunity you can't afford to miss. As the Americans say, an opportunity of a lifetime. In auctioning off these effects of various deceased members of the community, I assure you that no single piece has more pretentious value than this genuine oaken traveling trunk. As you see, gentlemen, it's bound in brass and locked tight and secure with a massive, genuine brass lock. What's in it? Nobody knows. But the law says that being unclaimed, strange merchandise, whoever buys it gets it all, as you might say, with all that's in it. Be it gold or silver plate or the jewels of India. Now, what am I offered for this chest? Make your bids and make them good, gentlemen. Do I hear someone say 10 pounds?
5 shillings.
Now, gentlemen, look at it. Locked tight. And nobody knows what's inside. A fortune waiting here. And somebody talks of 5 shillings. Now, come, let's on with it. What am I offered?
5 and 6.
Oh, gentlemen, for firewood alone.
I offer 6.
6.
6 and 6. 7.
Well, gentlemen, it appears we're having a competition in little numbers. Is there anybody here would like to raise the bid in halfpenny?
7 and 6. 8.
Gentlemen, I ask you, ain't there anybody here what's heard what I said about this chest being locked and sealed? Oh, let it go. It's the last thing I've got to auction. So let it go, we'll all go home. Going to the little gentleman right down there for 8 shilling even. Do you hear any more? Sold. Step right up here, sir, and claim your purchase. Now, what might your name be for the record?
Name? My name is Maggs. Yes, Harold Maggs.
And the money, Mr. Maggs?
Oh, yes, sir. My pocketbook got it all ready. 8 shillings, sir. Here you are.
Right you are. You understand, of course, the cartage is extra.
Oh? Oh, is it?
Right you are. Now, where will I send the chest?
I don't know. I mean, extra charges.
Where will I send it?
92 Applegate Southwest 3.
Right you are.
Is that all?
That's all. The chest is yours. You'll get it in the morning.
In the morning? But I'll be at work in the morning.
Your old woman will be home, won't she?
Oh, yes, but she doesn't know anything
In the morning,
about...
they'll deliver it, and in the morning, you'll get it. Good night to you.
Oh, good night. And thank you. Thank you.
Thanking me, huh? If you knew what I know of that trunk, you wouldn't be thanking me. You'd curse me to the devil.
That you, Harold?
Yes, Agatha?
Well, I must say it's a fine time for a man to be getting home.
Well, Mr. Bainbridge asked me to stay and check the inventory.
Never mind what Mr. Bainbridge said. Did you get anything extra for doing what Mr. Bainbridge said?
Well, I...
Never mind what he said. I tell you what you get from me. A cold supper, that's what.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh, is it? Now, just a minute, Mr. Harold Maggs. There's something else I want to talk to you about.
Yes, Agatha?
How much money have you been making on the races?
Races? Me?
You.
Oh, no, you know I never play the horses.
And how much money did that rich uncle of yours in Australia leave you?
Australia? Me? Why, Agatha, what are you talking about? I haven't got any uncles in Australia.
Oh, then maybe it's a gold mine you discovered. Or maybe a well that gives 100 gallons of petrol a minute.
Agatha, are you all right?
The chest.
Oh.
Why did you buy it?
Well,
They didn't give it to you, did they?
It was only 8 shillings, and I...
Only 8 shillings? You mean to stand there and tell me you spent 8 whole God-given shillings for that thing?
Yes.
Harold Meggs, I ought...
Agatha, what's that?
Never you mind what that is.
Up in the garret.
Yes, up in the garret. Where that great prize of yours is. Up in the garret where you should be until your head's examined.
But, Agatha, what...
It's Freddie, breaking the thing open to see what's inside.
Breaking it open?
Yes, and I told him to do it. Freddie, have you opened it yet?
Not yet, Mom.
Oh, Agatha, please, I don't want him to...
No, keep quiet. I know you haven't got a key to it. But Raymond told me all about this prize package, the did.
Oh, but...
Plunked it right down in the middle of the kitchen floor. And poor Freddie and I had to carry it all the way upstairs.
Oh, but Agatha...
Oh, we'll find out what's in it soon enough.
Oh, no, please, he shouldn't break the lock. It's a good one. Maybe I could pick it. I'll go up there.
No, Harold, come back here. Let Freddie do what I told him to. Harold, come back here this minute. Harold, you regret this, making me climb these stairs. Harold, do you hear me?
Mom, make him stop.
Harold, what's come over you?
He won't smash my chest. He won't.
Well, Mom said I could. She did. She said I could.
Dare you strike that boy?
Oh, I didn't.
Well, you thought about it.
He may not be your flesh and blood, Harold Meggs, but he's mine.
He's a big lout, 30 years old.
Mom, he called me
I
a
heard.
big lout again.
It's quite enough. Harold Meggs, give me that hammer.
Yes, Agatha.
I'll fix your precious chest, your precious lock.
That's right, Mom. Show him. Oh, a good one, Mom. You smashed it.
Oh, it was a good padlock.
You keep quiet. Buy a cat in the poke, will you?
Teach him, Mom.
Well, now we'll see your grand bargain. Help me lift the lid, Freddie.
Sure thing, Mom.
We'll see what you wasted my good money on.
Mom. Why, it's empty.
Empty. Harold Meggs, you wretch, you. Taking the bread out of the mouths of your good wife and your son to buy empty trunks.
Wait, Agatha.
Wait for what? For what?
It's not empty.
What are you talking about?
See? The whole inside crusted with dried blood.
Harold, wake up. Wake up. Open your eyes, you stupid fool.
What?
Wake up.
It's not morning.
No, of course not. Open your eyes. I heard something.
Well, what did you hear?
Can't you hear anymore? I said there's someone in the house.
What? What do you mean?
Listen.
I don't hear anything.
Don't talk, listen.
Ah!
You heard?
Yes.
Up in the garret.
Oh.
Get up and do something.
Well, what could I do?
Well, you're not going to let them steal the house away from us. There, again.
But why in the garret?
You're going to lie there talking while they...
But we've nothing there for anyone to take there. It's Freddie.
Freddie?
Come on.
No, not up there.
Well, I'm going.
Harold, come back and don't leave me alone to be murdered. Harold, don't go up there. Harold, I'm frightened.
Agatha, come up here quickly.
No, I'm afraid.
Agatha, quickly.
All right. I'm more afraid down here than I'll be up there. Can't be much to be afraid of. If you're not afraid, Harold. So dark up here. Well, Harold, what is it?
Agatha, come here. Help me.
Well, what is it? What's the matter with you? What?
It's your Freddie.
Freddie?
Oh! The lid of the chest seems to be closed on his head, and I can't seem to open it.
Oh dear. December 1st, 1949. Lights Out on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now more of Lights Out and the story of Mr. Maggs, December 1st, 1942.
Now back to Lights Out and our story of Mr. Maggs. The son of the house lies dead, crushed by the object Mr. Maggs had bought at the auction, an old chest.
Agatha, it's no use going on like that. There's nothing we can do for you. I knew you loved the boy. Guess he's the only thing you ever loved in all your life.
Oh, do something, you worm, you.
What is there to do? Storm's so bad, just have to wait until morning, that's all.
If you hadn't bought that infernal chest.
If I hadn't bought it.
Murdered him, you did. You hated him for the memory of my first husband.
No, I wouldn't say that, Agatha.
Why not? You bought the chest, so it's your doing.
Well, in a way, you're right. I brought the evil into the house now, didn't I?
What are you talking about?
An unhappy house, and now there's evil in it.
What are you saying?
Since we came downstairs, all these hours since it happened, I've been thinking.
Thinking what?
How do you think Freddie died? And why?
You crazy? Asking me if I know how he died? I saw it, didn't I?
But I asked you, why did he die?
Why? Because the infernal lid of it fell on his head, that's why. Oh, my Freddie.
Yes. The evil did it.
Evil. You are crazy. The only thing evil was your buying it.
You just don't understand, do you, Agatha?
What are you looking at me like that for? I tell you the lid fell down on his head.
Evil.
Evil. Stop trying to make me as crazy as you are. Come on back up there and help me carry my son down so I can stretch him out decent and respectful for when the undertaker comes.
No, Agatha.
What?
I've made up my mind. I won't go up there again.
Oh, yes, you will. He'll lie dead in a bed, my son. Not up there.
No, Agatha, I've made up my mind. I figured out that up in the garret, the evil has taken...
Evil be blasted. My son. You'll help me carry him down. Don't stand there. Storm's over. Help me carry down his body so I can lay it out decent.
No, Agatha. No, hear me out. It's evil.
I'll have you locked away, I tell you.
Evil, and I knew somehow that it was there. That's why I dragged you downstairs again so quickly. You never thought much of me, Aggie, but this time, believe me, if I go up there with you, it means my life.
I've listened to enough. A split-headed little worm, that's what you are. There's nothing up there but that blasted chest you bought and Freddie's body. And if you won't help me bring him down, then, curse you, I'll bring him down myself.
No, Agatha, come back. Aggie, come back. Agatha, I beg you. Aggie! Aggie, you shouldn't have. This once in all these years, you should have listened to me. If you'd have listened this time, I would have meant something more than... Agatha? Agatha, what's doing up there? Are you all right? Agatha, do you hear me? You all right? What in the...
Harold, help me!
Agatha, what? Agatha, what? What happened? What's the matter? Oh, Agatha, heaven help me. I can't come up to you. I'm afraid. Agatha, that's another hour. It's hard waiting, Agatha. I've got to keep so quiet. I've got to listen. Perhaps you'll say something. Call me again. I've got to know what happened. Man can go crazy not knowing what happened. I'll keep very quiet. Perhaps I'll hear you saying something up there. Agatha? Wind. I hear nothing but the wind, Agatha. I'm afraid to move out of this chair, Agatha. As afraid as I've ever been in all my life. And that's been many times, Agatha. Something safe about this chair. It's my chair. I've sat in it so many times it knows me. And while I'm in it, nothing can happen to me. Now, can it? But if I were to get up, leave it, walk toward the door. No, I won't do that. I'll sit here and wait in the chair. And when it's daylight again... Agatha, is that you? I heard you again. Agatha? Agatha? Agatha, why don't you answer me? I hear you moving around. Why don't you answer me? Agatha! Agatha, isn't it you? Sounds as if a heavy chest were being moved along to the head of the stairs. No, nothing more. So quiet. Coming down the steps. Coming down. Agatha, is that you? You bringing the chest down? Agatha, is it you? No, it couldn't be you, could it, Agatha? And who is bringing it down? Who is it? Answer me. Answer me! Got to get out of here. Run. But I can't. Too afraid. Who is it? Agatha, it is you, isn't it? It must be you. It must be. Not many more steps, then I'll see. No, I won't look. I won't. Stop, you, whoever you are. Don't bring that chest down here. Stop! Stop! Stopped. No further. Stopped. I won't have to see. I won't have to see. Again. Oh, no. So close, bottom of the stairs. I'll see. What? Oh, if I could close my eyes. Only one more step. I know it. No. How could it be? No one. Just the chest. No one with it. How can that be? No one. How could a trunk come down the stairs, one at a time, alone? Daylight. Why doesn't daylight come? There's something buzzing in my head. Oh, my head. Why do I sit here staring at that thing of evil? I've got to know. Yes, I've got to know. Get up. Close to it. Just a chest. Why should I be afraid of it? Just a chest. Put my hand on it. Moved under my hand. Thing of evil, I'll get you. You won't get me, I'll get you. My axe. Where's my axe? Closet. What's in here? Yes. Got to find my axe. Won't get me, you blasted chest, you. Got it. You hear me, you evil? Axe in my hand, I'm coming for you. You came after me, but I'll get you.
I see you there at the foot of the steps, you chest, you. Lying there so quiet, aren't you? Think I'll open you and then you'll get me, too? Well, you won't. You won't. I'm coming for you. See? I'm creeping close to you. Slowly, slowly. The way you crept down the stairs for me.
December 1st, 1942, lights out on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these important messages. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Lights Out, the story of Mr. Maggs, December 1st, 1942.
How do you like it, you Ever, waiting for your doom? I'll get close to you. I'll swing my axe, and then your evil will be over, won't it? You'll be wood, and twisted bands of brass, and then I won't have to be afraid anymore, now will I? Now, I'm close enough. Your doom, Chest. I'm your doom. Here! There, I did it. I did it, you evil Chest. You cracked you wide open. I'll pull the rest of you wide apart, and then... Ah! Agatha! You were in it! My axe, it's in your skull!
Harry? Oh, Harry.
Yes, Mr. Jamison?
Harry, that chest you delivered over Applegate Way. Where's the signed receipt for it?
Oh, there it is. Lying right here.
Ah, yes. Received one chest.
What are you laughing at, Mr. Jamison?
Oh, just thinking.
Thinking of what, might I ask you, sir?
Thinking and wondering if they found out.
What's that, sir?
That the chest was the one in which that murderer, the young last Wednesday, used to stuff his murdered victims.
Cool.
I wonder if that little man that bought it, what was his name? Maggs, found out about his bargain yet.
Phew. Now, just a second, Mr. Oblert. You mean to say that this old chest killed those people?
I didn't say. The supernatural, the supernormal, and coincidence. Who can separate the three? I'd like to tell you something that actually happened to me, though, a few years ago. Very strange happening. I was going to tell you about that very thin line between coincidence and the supernormal. A number of years ago, back in Chicago, late at night, I sat down on my typewriter to try to write a short story. I sat there, but no ideas came along. Then, just as the clock struck 12, and I remember the time very, very well, the idea came along. Quickly, I began to type the story, a criminal in the hotel room hiding from the police. He can't remember exactly what to do. Finally, in his panic, he climbs out the window and hangs from a narrow ledge high above the city street. Finally, just as the police come in, he falls. Well, I got that very far with the plot, and then suddenly, rather tired, I went to bed. The next morning, the headline of the paper told of a criminal who had hidden in a hotel room, and then when the police broke in, the panic, and the hour was just at midnight, had tried to escape by hanging from the narrow ledge outside the room. In other words, as I was writing that story, at that very moment, mind you, it was actually happening. Coincidence? Supernormal? Who knows?
But now, what happens next week, Mr. Obler?
Next week, Scoop. Quite a strange title, I'll admit, and a very strange story. It's about a man who worked all his life only to have what he had worked for taken away. But that, as usual, is next week.
Yes, Lights Out will come to you again next Tuesday at the same time. Be sure to listen to Arch Obler's weird story of Scoop. Oh, by the way, in answer to those inquiring about scripts, a new book of plays by Arch Obler, Plays for Americans, has just been published by Ferrer and Reinhardt. These plays may be used without royalties by any person or group in connection with our country's war work. And if you need more vitamin B and iron, be sure to try ironized yeast, the one and only ironized yeast, with the big letters IY on the package and on each tablet.
It is later than you think.
Arch Oboler, like so many, giving their all for the war effort. December 1st, 1942, Lights Out on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now part 4 of the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Henderson Matter. This originally broadcast December 1st, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
This is Mrs. Henderson. You asked me to call, Mr. Dollar?
Yes, Mrs. Henderson. I'm with Paramount Insurance Adjusters.
Oh, yes.
You probably know we asked for the inquest into your husband's death.
Yes, I know.
We're trying to clear up the entire matter as quickly as we can, Mrs. Henderson. I'd like to talk to you.
Oh?
Hate to trouble you at a time like this.
Well, that's all right, Mr. Dollar. When do you want to talk?
May I come out to the house this afternoon?
There's a nice restaurant called Big Horn Lodge on the highway. How about meeting you there at, say, 4 o'clock?
Good. I'll be there.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Paramount Insurance Adjusters, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Henderson matter. Expense account continued. Item 7, $5. One pair of galoshes, believe it or not. It snowed in Culver, Montana during the night, all night. By morning, 14 inches of fine new snow covered everything in sight. After my phone call to Mrs. Henderson, I spent the morning trying to rent an automobile. There was none to be had, so that afternoon I dropped over to see Eve Holton, my sheriff friend.
Well, son, you're going to catch your death unless you start wearing a scarf.
Yeah, I'll remember that, Eve. But maybe I won't need one.
Oh?
Yeah, I think I'll be leaving Culver pretty soon.
Well, I hope you don't mean that, son.
I'm afraid I do. I'll have to tie this case up one way or another pretty quick.
Why?
My company wants me to get back home. I got a letter this morning.
Oh, well, how can I help you?
Well, for one thing, you can lend me your car again. I have a date with a lady out at the Big Horn Lodge.
Pretty fancy. You can have the old thing anytime you want, and you know that, son. Who's the lady?
George Henderson's widow.
Yeah. Oh?
Now, I know what you're going to say. Why go after her? Why bother her until I have something to go on? Well, I got to do something, Eve. I'm no nearer now to knowing whether Henderson was pushed out that hotel window, fell, or jumped. I think I have enough of an idea of Henderson and his wife to pick up some valuable information from her. Any objections?
Nope. Johnny, a couple of days ago, you asked me to look up people who might have been especially friendly to Mrs. Henderson. You still want to know about them?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm working on it.
Anyone so far?
Nobody I'd put in that category. What time you have to be at the Bighorn?
4.
It'll take you a while. Wouldn't hurt to start right now. She's parked out back.
Okay, thanks, Eve.
Good luck. And don't let her rang-dangle you, son. She could do it if she wanted to.
Goodbye, Eve. 10 minutes later, I was on the road to Big Horn Lodge, which also happened to be the same road I'd traveled 2 days before to attend George Henderson's funeral. As I drove past the graveyard, white and stark against the blue winter sky, I noticed a car parked along the side of the road, a little Chevy coupe about 1952. There was the figure of a woman, all alone, standing by George Henderson's fresh grave. Her head was bowed. She didn't notice me as I walked up. A gray-haired woman, about 45, slight, delicate, gentle. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start it.
Oh, that's all right. Must be getting late. Dear, it is.
Do I know you?
Why, I don't know. I'm Mattie Knickerbocker.
The name had startled me. The day before, an insurance broker in Great Falls had mentioned her. Told me that George Henderson had named her his beneficiary, then changed his mind a few minutes before he died.
Your name's not Campbell, is it?
No, Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar. You remind me of a boy I had in one of my classes once, Torrey Campbell.
Oh, you're a teacher, Miss Knickerbocker?
Yes. Everybody knows me, I think. Or at least I flatter myself that way. Well, I should be going.
I knew Mr. Henderson, too.
Oh? He was a wonderful man, George. He was very dear to me. I'll find it difficult getting used to the fact that he'll never be around anymore. George had a wonderful laugh, didn't he?
Yes, yes, he did, Mrs. Knickerbocker.
I never really thought that he ever grew up. Of course, you knew him in a business way, and I'm sure he was very, very grown up in business. But it doesn't hurt to think of him this way now, does it?
I don't think so, Miss Knickerbocker.
I didn't come to his funeral. I didn't think I could bear it. I thought I'd just drive out this afternoon and say goodbye by myself.
Well, I apologize for interrupting you.
Not at all, please. Funny little things. The birds in the snow.
Oh.
Such tiny, wonderful little things. A little bit of God in each of them, Mr. Dollar, wouldn't you say?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why. I think George would like to know they're here, near him.
Miss Knickerbocker, I have to tell you...
No, you don't, Mr. Dollar. I know who you really are. Everyone in town knows. You seem like a nice young man. Was it curiosity that made you stop your car?
Yeah, I suppose so. I apologize.
Oh, you needn't. I'm just an old friend of George's, saying goodbye to him. Good afternoon, Mr. Dollar.
Goodbye. Talking to Mattie Knickerbocker, I felt that for the first time, somebody, namely Mattie, had talked frankly and truthfully about George Henderson. I was still thinking of the frail, drab little woman with the nice blue eyes when I met Pauline Henderson at the Bighorn Lodge.
What are these matters you want to clear up, Mr. Dollar?
Oh, just some doubts in my mind about your husband's death. What do you drink?
Pernod.
Pernod.
I learned to like it in France.
All right. One Pernod, bourbon, a little water on the side.
Yes, sir.
You sound like George when you order.
Hey, I like your Bighorn Lodge. And I have to say, when it's elegant in the West, it's elegant.
I'd like a light, please.
Oh, sorry. Sure.
Thank you.
Mrs. Henderson, do you mind if I don't stall any longer with the drinks, the smokes, and the compliments?
I'm surprised you've stalled this long. I've heard you're a very blunt and impulsive man.
I spoke to an insurance agent named Thurber yesterday in Great Falls, your husband's agent. Mr. Thurber told me that your husband wanted to name a new beneficiary last week.
Really?
Yeah. He named Matilda Knickerbocker. Mattie Knickerbocker.
I'm not surprised, I suppose. Mattie's a lovely woman. I know George was very fond of her.
Mr. Thurber also told me that Mr. Henderson changed his mind about that the day he died. In fact, he phoned Mr. Thurber in Great Falls and told him to leave the policy as it was. He did that a few minutes after you left his hotel room, a few minutes before he died. Can you explain any of that, Mrs. Henderson?
Why don't you ask Mattie Knickerbocker?
Because I don't think she'd know. I ran into her this afternoon, and I talked to her. Oh, not about this, just about other things. I'll look her up again if I have to. But it's you I want information from now.
Then why don't you ask what you mean, Mr. Dollar?
All right. Did something happen in that hotel room that made him change his mind about you?
That's better. I do wish that ridiculous little man would bring our drinks.
He will.
Don't misunderstand what happened in the hotel room. George and I were going to be divorced. He moved out of the house a month ago. We went to his attorneys and drew up a tentative property settlement.
You mean...
Dunlap, Eder, Reardon, and Blake, Great Falls. They have a copy of that settlement. George was quite generous to me. So I didn't kill him for his money, if that's what you're thinking.
Here we are, sir. Pernod, bourbon.
Thank you.
I didn't see George for 3 weeks or so after we made the settlement. Then we happened to meet one day in Culver, and... well, we had rather bitter argument. It was one of those ridiculous things. We quarreled and parted very angrily. The whole thing was childish. My first impulse was to go right back to the lawyers and demand every unreasonable thing I could on the divorce settlement. I guess George's first impulse was to cancel me out as his beneficiary.
Did you go to a lawyer, Mrs. Henderson?
No, I cooled off. I cooled off considerably, Mr. Dollar. After all, George had been everything to me most of my life. I was truly sorry we never got along as man and wife. I'm glad that we made it up before he died. That morning. He apologized when I came by the hotel. I apologized. After I left, he fell out the window.
Then I can assume that this business with the policies had to do with the argument.
Assume what you like, Mr. Dollar.
I can understand why you're annoyed by me and my questions. It's just that it's kind of hard for us to believe that a man involved in divorcing his wife would still name her as his beneficiary. I say that because of past experience. Oh, it's happened, but as usual.
I could have told you that we were reconciled that day in the hotel, that we were going to drop the whole divorce matter, and that George was coming back to the house to live.
Yes, you could have told me that, Mrs. Henderson. Mr. Connors in our home office in Hartford called you a few days ago. You hung up on him. Why?
Well, I was very upset. I've never been a widow before.
Uh-huh. I believe you, Mrs. Henderson. Sitting here like this. You're a lovely person, and I know it. And you know it. And this is a pretty nice place to conduct business. Why didn't you ask me to your home?
I preferred to talk to you here.
That's what I thought. I saved all the did your husband have any enemies and did he seem depressed questions for another time. But before I went to bed that night, I read and reread Mrs. Henderson's testimony given at the coroner's inquest. The next morning, I interviewed all of the people at the Butte Hotel who'd been on duty the day Henderson fell out the window. After that, I dropped in to see Eve Holton.
Here it is, Johnny, right here. Personal effects of the deceased included 4 suits of men's clothing, 14 shirts, 5 pairs of hosiery.
Was there a bottle in that room, Sheriff?
Liquor?
Yeah.
No bottle. Nothing like it, son.
All right. He didn't call down and have a bellboy bring him a bottle or send him any drinks. The chambermaid swears there was no liquor in his room all the time he lived at the hotel. You say he was a light drinker. Now, what light drinker takes a nip before he has his breakfast?
Who said he had a drink that morning?
Mrs. Henderson.
What?
On the witness stand, under oath at the inquest. She testified that her husband had a drink before she came up to the room and while she was there. Now, mind you, she didn't say he was drunk, but she did say he had been drinking. You read over that transcript.
So?
So I think she threw that in, made sure it got in, because it's sometimes hard to believe that a cold, sober man will walk out of a hotel window and kill himself accidentally. A drunk or a drinker might do it. You and I and everybody at that inquest somehow got the impression that Henderson was slightly tipsy that morning. And Mrs. Henderson saw to that. Now then, if Henderson had a drink, I want to know where he got it. Tell me, Eve. No bottle in the room, no bottle brought up to the room. Where did he get that drink?
That's a pretty good question, son.
There'll be another intriguing episode in our story of the Henderson Matter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the wind-up. Yeah, the whole case blows sky high. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure and join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
from December 1st, 1955, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Ted over at RadioMemories.com has the entire 15-minute run of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And if you can check it out, RadioMemories.com. RadioMemories.com. Cassette, CD, or flash drive for your computer. Our webpage is classicradio.stream. Stream our shows on demand. Learn about classic radio collecting. You can find a link of podcast sites that have our shows available for download. You can find our social media links. You can contact me directly. And if you'd like to help us acquire additional classic radio theater collections and keep our distribution channels up and running, you can buy me a coffee. The Buy Me a Coffee money goes just for that, to keep this show up and to help us find additional classic radio collections to bring to you. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.